Tropical Storm Isaac provided major utility companies in the country with the opportunity to test their hurricane preparation plans. Meantime, Lynden Pinling International Airport dealt with backlogs brought on by the weather system. Clint Watson tells us more.
If you were out and about in the capital Sunday morning, you would have witnessed evidence that Tropical Storm Isaac wasn't too far away. Broken limbs from trees, debris in the streets, and flooding in some areas of the inner city were spotted. In fact, driving visibility was hindered by the downpour of rain and strong winds. The Potters Key dock was filled with mailboats as officials took safe harbor until the all-clear was given. Over at BTC's Command Center, Senior Manager for Public Relations, Jerome Sawyer, worked with teams to gather a nationwide assessment of how the network held up. By and large, he was pleased that there were no major concerns.
We only had 2 reports of outages in Kemps Bay, Andros, and that was due to a power outage there. We had a similar report of a power outage in Ragged Island, which caused the cell service in Ragged Island to go down. In Andros, about 75 landline customers were affected. So overall, the network has held up extremely well, and we are extremely pleased with what has happened up to this point.
Sawyer also happy BTC crews were able to test their hurricane plan to ensure its workability.
We were able to have key meetings by conference calls with all of our Family Island stakeholders, all of the stakeholders here in New Providence. And really, once the storm hits, it's a wait-and-see situation where we're constantly in contact with the various stakeholders in these islands. They report back to us any problems that they may be encountering, any issues with the network. Of course, we also have redundancies, so should the network itself go down, we are still able to keep in contact through use of satellite phones.
Operations at the Lynden Pinling International Airport ceased from 10 p.m. Saturday until about 7:45 Sunday morning, while Nassau Airport Development Company officials maintain that the actual facility never closed. All flight operations were suspended by Civil Aviation. Air Traffic Controller Supervisor Brian Wilson spoke to us by telephone.
Primarily it's when it becomes unsafe aircraft to operate. Now, there's nothing definitive that's written on that. We've been operating basically when the winds are steady around 35-40 miles an hour, we would suspend operations in the interest of safety. Most of the weather, again, is drifting off towards the northwest in this vicinity, and with the exception of Andros and Bimini, as far as I'm aware, all the airports in the country are operational.
Bahamas Air's first flight left up after 11 o'clock this morning. And over the domestic section, many of the smaller charters, well, their flights didn't leave until later in the afternoon. All of this because of severe weather conditions throughout the archipelago of islands. So you've been here pretty much most part of the morning.
Right.
Do you have any concerns about waiting this long, or you pretty much understand?
I understand. The better we can do nothing about that.
Where are you headed?
Sunsala.
Now, for the greater part of the day, for those flights that were canceled, ticket agents were busy rebooking passengers on other flights. In many cases, they were asking people to check online to find out whether their flights were canceled or to try and rebook them themselves before coming down to the airport. By afternoon, many of those flights were going out, and although some delayed because of airports closed in the United States of America, many of them were still operating as normal, while some may have canceled flights. What were you told by Bahamas Air officials?
They told us that first the flight was delayed, and they said that it depends on how the pilots feel. If they feel comfortable, they will fly out, and apparently they don't, and so we have to return tomorrow morning at 6:30.
At the end of the day, officials here at the airport say they're up and running, but it's up to passengers to ensure that their flights are flying. Clint Watson, ZNS News.